I don't think so. Greg.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order here at 8:15. Someone want to make a motion to approve the agenda and the revision, the January 21st regular meeting minutes. We can make a note on that too, Amber, when we have to get a motion in a second.
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Does anyone have any corrections or additions?
No. Discussion regarding the January 21st meeting minutes. Could you give
Well,
us some
I think that's actually the January 13th minutes that we,
She's coming in later.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have no liquor licenses today. Any public comment? We gotta, go ahead, buddy.
Morning.
State your name, please.
Sure, Tracy Bolte.
Okay.
Here in Glenwood. I've noticed that you guys have been discussing the all the planning and zoning for the county. I've been an avid member of the city's planning and zoning board. I've also been here to help the county planning and zoning board. I would love to sit down and talk to you guys about what your thoughts are, plans are for that position and
Sure.
the goals. So
Sure.
if I can schedule a time with you guys at some point to sit down and go through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
I see on your agenda, you're talking about pipeline ordinance and such, and I have some information I'd like to share with you. Would you like me to do that now, or I see Karen Seipel has a spot on the agenda later to talk about that? Might I tag along after she presents her information?
That works for us. What works for you?
Okay.
We typically like to keep those around 3 minutes if we could, please. So, thank you. Board of Supervisor meeting updates. Drawing a blank. I don't think I had much last week, so I have nothing to add. Jack?
I don't think I had a committee last week either.
Well, this was my busy week. First meeting was with SWIPCO. We have a little problems with surrounding areas. The COG in Creston, where it's located, got into some financial problems about a year ago, so they removed that gentleman. They hired a new lady or a new person, and she passed away last week.
Yeah.
So now they're asking Atlantic office to help handle this, and I'll put it this way. The Creston office is in deep trouble still. John says, I don't think I have the time or have the people to go over and take care of it. So they're going to work on it, but that's one of the things. Housing, we're doing great on housing, helping people build housing. And then we also have a business lease loan that we put out through SWIPCO. We've had 2 successful businesses that finally got their loan paid back in 5 years. So one of them's an ice cream shop in Atlantic, and I can't remember the other one. And a meeting I attended yesterday is going to affect all of us in some way, somehow. It will no longer be called regional mental health. It's just mental health. And folks, it doesn't look good for the rural areas. They have no idea. They have 100 people right now hired to cover the state. And that's about all I can tell you about that. And then I had a NISTA Productions meeting last night. Our new house in Essex, believe it or not, they got the slab poured before it froze. They're building the safe room this week out of concrete. And once they get that done, they'll start building on the house. They hope to be done by late September, sometime in October, because the gentleman builds these houses is located in Griswold, and he builds all the walls and stuff in-house. And he hauls them down and sets them together. We had some policy changing things, and we also have a new director. We're hiring a new director for NISTA Productions. Sherry Clark is retiring after 40 years of service.
Should be missed.
That's all I have.
Good. Mr. Farrow, you are up.
Okay. Only thing I have on the list today, I would like approval to transfer local money into our farm to market account. This is something that we budgeted for. The total will be $350,000. It's as simple as getting your approval, and then we'd write a check from our office to the Iowa DOT farm to market account, and it would directly go towards our H12 project that I've seen contract documents for that. The letting's not till March 18th, so we don't have a contractor selected or anything, but the late start date was mid-July, so the latest we would start on that project is going to be July of this year.
Over Henderson, correct?
Yep, that one's up by Henderson, so that's what that
We're
was.
ahead on our farm market money for a while, so this will be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, this is going to help out.
I would make the motion to transfer local money to farm to market account.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the transfer of $350,000 from our local money to the farm to market account. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Do we need to sign anything for that, Jacob, or is that
No.
something you just do in-house?
Yeah, I'll just wait for the minutes, and then I'll probably attach that when we send the check over.
It's just 350, right?
350,000.
Any general discussion?
General discussion, we have, it's probably been a month or more at the quarry. We had a front end loader back up into one of our dump trucks. finally got through insurance. They did total it out. We decided to buy it back. So we can't full coverage on it, but for the amount of money, it just made sense for us so we can still have it. We especially didn't want to get rid of it during our snow season because it is a plow truck. It's all just cosmetic stuff. It's the front quarter panel, it's the hood that we need to replace, stuff like that, but still fully functional. So we're gonna buy that back from insurance.
How much do you know yet?
They gave us, I think it was 19,000. So basically, we'll keep the truck, and they'll still send us like 6,000 or something, or 16,000.
You said 16.
Yeah, 16. So then we'll use that money to replace the hood and stuff. The big thing is then we can't carry full coverage on it, but
Sure.
we aren't going to be able to go buy another truck for 3,000 anyways. So
Right.
it just financially makes sense.
Good. You could spare.
Yeah. Went with Schultz up to Henderson last week. Met with them. That was pretty well. Went pretty well. They
Good.
appreciated us coming out there and kind of talk through the project and stuff. They are interested in. We give it. It's called TJ monies, where we give them we get certain amount of money from the state, and then we disperse it to those smaller cities to take care of the FM route that goes through there. They're interested in not receiving that money, and then we just do the full maintenance on that FM route. So I was going to look into that. There's probably some guidance through the DOT of how to go about that.
Right.
But yeah, they would rather just let us take care of it, and they don't have to worry about that section. So
Easy for them.
So we'll look into that.
Good.
That's all I have for general discussion. Unless you guys have anything for me?
I know you got that stop sign up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was just telling Schultz there that I thought the ground was too frozen, and then the sign goes up, and talked to the sign guy. He said, well, when the ground's frozen, it takes a little bit longer with the auger, but it will get through it. So.
Well, I'm sure John surely appreciated it, so good.
Glad we got it up. Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else, guys?
I don't.
Ready?
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Thank you. Anything comes up, you got my numbers.
You gonna sit in for Dawn today?
She's on her way up.
Perfect. We have to have task force for opioid settlement. We have to have a committee. I think so. I haven't looked at all the, it's been out on it yet. I think we do. At least to disperse the money, to manage the disbursement of money.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure it's one, something like
Yeah,
that.
it is. Yeah. I think there's be certain departments that need to be on it, 'cause I know the sheriff and public health are involved.
Yeah.
So,
With the possible use of funds, most of it is in the public health side. There's some legal and there's some law enforcement. But
county attorney.
Yeah.
Just realized my typo on the agenda.
Stifled?
No, the typo. I put settlement Monday task force instead of money.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I think you're talking about our Monday program.
Like, oh.
hi, Don.
It's that. Good morning, Don.
Hi. Let me across the office really quick. I'll just pass this around.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, good. It's kind of the same thing, but just bigger, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she gave me those yesterday, give them to you, and
I was gonna ask you
put them out here so people can pick them up and stuff.
yes, because I was gonna ask you if you got a chance to talk to Mary.
Yep.
Yesterday. So that was
She said anything she could do to help us, she would.
yeah, that was kind of be my kind of thing this morning. So has he talked to you about this yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Just kind of leaving it up to you.
Yeah.
We got all that started off on the same
Right.
page.
So last week I ran into Richard and we were talking about the opioid settlement money and just kind of what we could do to really bring the services just to Mills County residents. And we kind of were brainstorming a little bit about the people that I see that come in through our court system, our juvenile court system, our schools that are here in Mills County. So, you know, we kind of looked at, so Heartland Family Service has been around, they're coming up on 150 years. So big deal with this, and the people that are here, if they're not familiar, there's the pamphlets, but it's really just one big umbrella. They're very used to providing prevention services and treatment services for mental health and substance abuse. Long history. So after I saw Richard, I reached out to Mary O'Neill, who's the Iowa liaison for Heartland Family Service. Heartland Family Service is both in Nebraska and Iowa. Their main office is in Nebraska, but ironically, most of the services that are provided are here in Iowa. So they reach out, they do all of Southwest Iowa. Heartland Family Service is already designated as the provider in many counties that surround us. So this would not be something new for county government to designate Heartland Family Service as the agency to provide those particular services. Pot County they've already kind of done the meetings that we're talking about starting, like the committees of, hey, what can we do with this money? Like, can we buy some of these Narcans and put them all in our courthouses? Can we get some, therapists and people in our schools to talk about prevention? Because we do have a lot of vaping right now, THC vaping for our 12, 13, and 14-year-old kids. And she said that the prevention piece of things is really lacking. So that would be a great opportunity to get in the schools and to address that now, because we are seeing an uptick in that. I'm handling that in my office by doing diversion type programs for nicotine and vaping because they're 12 and 13. So what I talked to Mary about, what she said she would love to do is set up a time to come down and really kind of say exactly what she's done for the other counties and how they're working it and what they're doing with that money. And then all of the great ideas that their task forces have already come up with to spend that money as well. So, we can put together our own team, but really and truly, they've done the brainstorming and have come up with some great ideas. Apparently, this is what she told me. So it might be great to have her, because she is the one that coordinates all of Iowa counties and all of these services. So this is just a tiny amount. Really, they focus on the mental health crisis, the substance abuse, quick homelessness. They have the therapeutic school in Council Bluffs. Just everything. So, and the good thing is that for our people here in Mills County, they just don't have access. They're going to have to get rides to go up to Council Bluffs and wait at 7:00 in the morning to get a substance abuse evaluation. They don't have access to that right here in Mills County. So it'd be great if we could have that access for them, in Malvern or wherever here, so that they could go do an evaluation or go talk to somebody without having to go to Council Bluffs to do it. So we do have, Zion, in Page County, where we have to send a lot of people. But it'd be nice to keep everything here local too. So, and Richard even came up, with an idea of, I came up with like gas cards because they have to get evaluation, but he even said something about a Sweatabus, for example, just to get them to their evaluations if they're appointments. So,
and they run pretty early, and they also, if they have to drop them off at 7:00, if they can pick them up like 2 or something, have an appointment time and not leave our drivers sitting there. That's,
right.
That's the main thing.
So, and a lot of times, law enforcement, we have our committal process for kids and adults. If somebody's having a mental health crisis, you can also commit people for substance abuse crisis. But Heartland Family Service has the crisis response team, and our magistrate, 99.9% of the time, will utilize the Heartland Family Service crisis response team to go to the location before they're taken to the hospital to see if they truly, really need to go to the hospital. That does save deputies a second of transporting up to the hospital or police department. So I want to make sure that we're still continuing to utilize that service if we can, and have that available, because then they can get them referred right into some type of substance abuse or some type of evaluation, We have to make sure that they're signed up sometimes for Medicaid so they can get integrated health home services, which is a team of 3 people, which will help them through all this. There's just a lot of great things out there that are already paid for, and we can help these people get those services from age, little all the way up, because substance abuse and mental health doesn't distinguish on race and
Right.
income and all of that. So
So they would be our task force, you're saying?
they would be
for the
basically,
committee?
so they would be ones that we would basically contract with, or designate as the substance abuse and mental health type provider for this county. And any opioid dollars would have to be utilized for Mills County residents. And they would make sure that they are here or making sure that our residents have access to those services instead of having to go to other counties.
Do we know how much money we've gotten so far from opioid
I
settlement
have
funds?
not looked nor asked, so,
I can look.
yeah.
I have it
I
somewhere in
know
my
it's been
office.
coming in, but I don't,
Yeah.
I have not seen that.
What other counties in our area is this organization teamed up with so that,
Pottawatomie County,
Pottawatomie.
Harrison County, Cass County,
I thought Shelby was in there.
Shelby. Yep.
Okay.
So Mary O'Neill's also on the task force because Richard does the region.
Region, she sits on our board.
The board. Yep. So she's a really good contact. She's been doing this for years and years and years. But it would be nice just to have one point of contact so we can make sure that these services are getting done and that we can identify what we want. And then they're going to have to work around what we've identified as needs here locally.
Right.
and with any of the opioid settlement funds, since a lot of these services are already provided by them, are they taking a top off like an administrative fee or how's that work?
That's going to be a Mary question because I don't think we can use them really for
Nope.
salaries.
Nope.
So they have to pay the salaries, but we're going to have to figure out something because clearly other counties are using their money to fund some of these programs in their counties through Heartland. I'm not sure how the logistics work. So she would be a good person to talk to. She knows all that.
Biggest thing is training our officers city, county officers need training. Well,
Mhm.
you can get the training, but we're trying to get to see if they will pay for the officers traveling there, their expenses there.
Costs, things
you know,
like that. Yep.
It's all goes to training, but nobody in Mills County has pushed that subject yet. So I think we've got some issues that we need to find out about so that, we need to be utilizing this money that we're getting. We've been getting it for a year and a half, 2 years.
Well, the money
And-
shouldn't just sit there.
No, it should
We have the
not sit
money and
there.
we have
We
to use
should
it for
be,
certain
we should
things.
be putting it out to the public to be used. So,
I did just look, it's about 200,000.
Right now or over the
Right.
course of the years?
That's what I've got. in
That's the
fund
That's what we have
balance.
right now, 200.
Right around there.
Yeah. So That's what I've got.
I like the idea.
yeah. So if you guys give me a directive, what I would like to do, if you ever have 30 minutes for them to come down and give a quick,
Yeah.
this is what we've done, then maybe there can be even like an offshoot meeting of, hey, what do we think works for Mills?
Can we get them down here for,
Next
Yeah.
Tuesday?
we have a
Mhm.
meeting down here.
Yes. Yeah, you
Well,
tell me.
Next Tuesday's our evening meeting.
Okay, so 2 weeks.
Yeah. She said she is open and available and ready to go.
Good.
So,
And this is a list of some of the people that I've talked to and asked. We got the sheriff, the attorney, public health, city chief. I have other entities that's been contacting me that said they work with Heartland all the time. They will sit on the sideline because Heartland draws these entities in to help them work through things. And then this Mary O'Neill that I sat with on mental health, she's great. I talked to her for probably 20 minutes yesterday on how we could possibly move some of these things forward. I says, because she says, if you don't do something pretty soon, you get a stack of money,
mhm.
and the state's gonna say, if you're not gonna use this, they're very good at taking it back,
We have the money, we should use it. We just
Right.
want to make sure we're getting the best bang out of
Right.
our buck.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
this something we need an action item on right now, or can we just?
I don't think so. I just really wanted to just start the conversation, and start thinking about, and if anybody from the public or anybody has any other input or ideas of, what we can use the money for, would love to hear it. Especially because it affects everybody. On Monday mornings, we see everybody coming in up through court and juvenile court, and parents and kids, and they have substance abuse and mental health issues. And so it'd be nice to help them.
I think we're all in agreement. I'd get a
Okay.
meeting set up with us. And
Okay.
let us
I'll
know it
talk
works
to
for
you
them.
afterwards.
Okay. All right.
Thank
you.
We got 20 minutes till we do our appointments. Can we fill in Karen and Marty?
Yeah, let's keep moving. Yeah, Karen, you're up next.
Marty, will you come up too, sir?
We'll get your place reserved right here at the table, Marty.
Yeah.
You can sit down.
Right in front of the donuts.
You have to eat a
got your
donut when you're
whole
sitting
box
there.
of donuts, so you can just start eating anytime you like.
Normally I get a podium for this. I get donuts today, huh? Go ahead.
You want to sit up here, Tom?
No, I'm just fine.
Okay.
I'm Karen Seipold. My husband and I live and farm here in the county and familiar with all of you guys for a long time. I just found out last week that Tallgrass has ideas of putting in a pipeline to connect Sire to the state of Nebraska. And this is kind of brand new to me, and it appears as though maybe Tallgrass might not be following the protocol in the state of Iowa for how they're supposed to go about this. So a friend of mine, a neighbor in Montgomery County, helped me get in contact with the IUC, the Iowa Utilities Commission, and there is not a waiver for pipelines under 5 miles. There's not a distance exemption.
To not
should
have
say.
community meetings under 5
Right,
miles.
right. So I'd say let's take a look at our contacts that we have through other county supervisors. We don't have to start from scratch on this. A lot of legwork has been done. Marty's got a lot of great information from counties like Bremer, Shelby, whatnot, on some protocols for ordinances and permits for road crossings and all kinds of things, just to make sure things are done correctly if we do it at all. A lot of things federally are frozen right now. I guess it'll be almost 2 weeks now. PHMSA, that's PHMSA. I forget what it stands for, but it's the federal folks who put in guidelines for things such as pipelines. This is considered a hazardous pipeline, and the latest guidelines are to have a 2-mile emergency zone on either side of this pipeline. So I think there's just a lot of work to be done here that I know you guys have a lot on your plates already, but we members of the community, right? We members of the community are here to help. And there's a lot of great resources available. Like I said, we can work with our county attorney and definitely contacts in other counties that are already putting together some great information. So we want to make sure that if indeed this is something that we want here, that it is done correctly. And so I caution the sales pitch of Tallgrass, because they're under a lot of pressure right now to try to get all this stuff signed, sealed, and delivered so that they can get their tax credits. So the burden of proof is on Tallgrass, not us.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
and if I still remember right, all the ordinances that was brought about or was created are still under litigation in some court system, correct?
Some ordinances are,
Right.
not all.
My understanding of the ordinances, Richard, is you had counties that tried to control the use of eminent domain. Counties can't do that. We can't have anything like that in our ordinances. The other part of that is why some of these were held up, is because the project was already planned. The county would try to enforce the ordinances on the project, and then that's why it got held up. So whatever project, by the time, we get our ordinances in, which takes right around 6 weeks, whatever project has to be grandfathered in. This is one of those things that, in my opinion, He said, we need to try and have something on the books when we're talking about safety, when we're talking about setbacks, safety valves, when we're talking about whether it goes under or above water. If you look at the map here for Tallgrass's pipeline, it goes right across the road from the mobile home up there on Bungie. You know, that's just a little bit too close for comfort. So I want to make sure that, you know, our job is to make sure that people are safe. How we can do that, we need to do it.
And whether Tallgrass has actually filed anything, has anything actually happened? Because
No,
there needs to be documentation of these kinds of things. Do they have permission yet from the Corps of Engineers to even burrow under it? I mean, I don't know these things. That's why I'm asking you guys to really find out about this.
No, they've
Yeah.
brought nothing to us other than they have talked to us individually, I believe.
Right.
They talked to you,
I
Lonnie.
haven't seen it. Yes, I did speak briefly with them,
Yeah.
but
But that's what I mean. I think we definitely do have time, and we might be under a little bit of pressure, but we do need to figure out how we're going to proceed through this, not just for this pipeline, but for any other like structure that might come into the county. I think the ball's in our court. We're in the driver's seat here, and Tallgrass needs to prove what they're saying is true. And like I said, just contacting the IUC about that exemption for less than 5 miles. I mean, that's kind of pulling something out of thin air. Like I said, I've got the email from the IUC stating that there is no exemption for that. So let's utilize what we already got. Now, I mean, I realize we can hire people and whatnot, but a lot of work's already been done. We can talk directly to IUC. Any of us can, to ask these questions and to see what the actual protocol is for this. Also, I've been in contact with Shelly Meyer. She's with Bold, Nebraska, and she's the one who is supposed to be the liaison for Tallgrass in the state of Nebraska. And I contacted her just because I'm not familiar with what Tallgrass is proposing, what their route is, and all the work that's going to be going on there. So she offered to be a contact for you guys and a point of information as well, legally and whatnot. I shared that with Jack last week, her contact. So I just, I don't know what kind of statements the salesperson made, but if there's full voluntary compliance, then we should see those contracts somewhere. Anyway, so with that, I'll hand it over to Marty. He's got some good hard copies here and more information too.
I got a few. If you take one and pass it on down. And same way with this. Now, we're talking about carbon capture and storage here, and I do not know your depth of knowledge on this. And so if I sound like I'm lecturing or I'm demeaning, please excuse me, because I don't know what you know. So I'm going to present a few things to you to look at and think about. This first one was written by me about 3 years ago, and it contains plume model data from the Wolf pipeline that was to go from eastern Iowa into Illinois. Now, all these companies are very, very tight with their plume data modeling until they are no longer in the business of putting in a pipeline. So when Illinois put the squash on the pipeline, why then Wolf released their information. This is how this came into the public domain. So if you look at it on the lower chart, you take an 8-inch pipeline at a hazard level 1, which is minimal. You're talking 2,700 feet on each side of the pipeline. If you go up to hazard level 1, if you go up to a hazard level 4, why, that's 417 feet on each side of the pipeline. That, gentlemen, is the kill zone. You won't be poisoned. You'll be asphyxiated.
You'll be dead.
You know, that's what you.
Stops law enforcement and EMS to get in there.
Yeah,
Engines die and.
Yeah. You know, that's what they use to put animals to sleep, but you can put humans to sleep with the same thing. In Mississippi, when they had their big release here in 2018, 17, I forget when it was, why nobody died.
Starsha.
It's Sartatia. Nobody died, but they have individuals that have had chronic lung problems afterwards. They have individuals that have had mental problems. The EMS found these people laying 2 miles away. They found them laying there frothing at the mouth. They looked like zombies. It's a wonder they didn't, but fortunately nobody died. So that's the hazard with this stuff. It's not a poison, it's an asphyxiant. Same difference. You can put animals to sleep, you can put people to sleep with it. So you can peruse that at your leisure, give an idea. Interestingly enough, now that Navigator has bowed out of the situation, their plume data in South Dakota has been made public, and it is worse than what this is. And as we'll get to later, PHMSA has come up with their proposed rules after so many years of looking at this. And PHMSA, with a 6-inch pipeline, is more concerned than even anything that I'm telling you, as we'll chat about in just a couple of minutes. So that's for you to look at. Read on the back of it. There's a little bit of it that may not apply. Like I said, it's 3 years old. It's a bit out of date, but it gives you an idea. The other option there, a paper I gave you, is a checklist for supervisors, things that you as supervisors can do regarding hazardous liquid pipelines. One, you can implement an ordinance, which you're talking about here. There's road crossing fees and permits. You can hire an inspector for the county to inspect the work after it's completed to make sure it's done properly, and the pipeline company will pay for that.
Yes, we are aware of that.
Good. So I'd urge you to do that. I know Montgomery County has hired, what is it, Snyder and Associates out of Atlantic?
I'm not sure who they hired.
It's out of Atlantic.
I think so.
So I think that's who it is. So those are, and there's different things on there, that checklist for counties, things that you can do to help your county. So as you well know, I mean, your job is to protect the citizens of the county and the property of the county. Now, I've got available, and I don't have enough paper and enough ink to make copies of all this for you, but I have here the Shelby County ordinance.
We do have that.
You have a copy? Wonderful. And I also have the Bremer County Utility Work in Right-of-Way ordinance. I don't know if you have that.
That's been shared.
The Bremer County permit requirements for surveying. I have the key highlights of the PHMSA, their new regulations or their proposed regulations are like 350 pages. This is a 14-page synopsis of the more important things. If you want a copy of that, perhaps the auditor's office can make copies for you. And I have road crossing restrictions from Bremer County. If you would like copies of that, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Okay, but you do have copies of the surveying and the right-of-way ordinance.
Those were shared statewide among supervisors.
Good.
Good.
So these others, perhaps you would like copies of that. And again, I don't know, like I said, your knowledge, let's see here. PHMSA, as she alluded to, in talking about a 6-inch carbon pipeline, they are, under their modeling and their restrictions, they want a zone 2 miles wide on each side of this pipeline as an enhanced emergency response zone. People have to be notified, people have to be aware, special precautions have to be taken. It gives you a frame of reference for how dangerous this can be if there's a leak. Now, as far as all the other stuff, why are road crossings? You know, I think the road crossing permits and all this are necessary, not because you're trying to belabor any company or stop any economic development, but if a multi-million-dollar company comes in and goes under the roads, there's a chance that there's going to be settling. There's going to be issues with it, and who's going to foot the bill 5 years down the road? Is it going to be the citizens of the county? It really shouldn't be. So that's why you have the fees and the permits in advance of this, so that You have the money to take care of it because you're not going to file suit and all that jazz. You're going to just take and fix it. So why should the county be involved in fixing it when it's not their job?
I think our county engineer is gonna meet with them here within the next week or two, so that is one of his concerns, and that will be addressed.
Well, I would,
Needs to be cased and protected for other utilities going in and out of there, and for us to do our day-to-day maintenance on it too. So
have they given them permits to cross the roads?
not yet.
They
They've not
haven't,
submitted
they don't
anything.
have,
No, they
they,
have not.
they most likely have to get a floodplain permit, right-of-way permit, and then as well as a bore permit, and they have not had any permits so far.
Well, you've got time to implement this stuff then, especially if they don't have any authority from the IUC. If they haven't filed with the IUC, technically they can't meet with landowners. So
Is that a IUC rule?
it has been with Summit Carbon.
Because
You can't
what-
meet until the way it has worked with Summit Carbon. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but with Summit Carbon, they've got to file with the IUC to start with. And then after that, they have to have a public meeting, has to be publicly announced so that the landowners and anybody that's interested can attend. After they have the public meeting, then they can talk to landowners and seek easements. But those steps have to be done in that way.
Well, when I met with this gentleman last week, he told us, myself and Matt, that they didn't qualify under a lot of these rules because they was less than 5 miles. Now, I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I'm green at this, just like everybody else is. And he brought up a lot of this, that they had already laid the route out. They had been given permission by all the landowners. I think they had all received checks for going through their property. And they all had signed off on their contracts. Whether it's true, whether it's legal, when does that come to a head? You're at this longer than I am. When do they have to bring that to, do they have to bring that to the county then? Or do they have to take it to the state?
Well, it sounds like they've not gone about it backwards. So,
Well, nothing
And
unusual
they're
in
from
Mills
a
County.
different state, so the rules might be
Right,
different, but from what
and-
they told us is
Yeah.
that they got a lot of people signed on, almost near 100%, and then they were gonna file with the IUC this week. That is what they stated to all of us. And if that's not how things should be done, then we need to stop whatever we can.
right. So that's my suggestion, because I'm familiar with the rules in Nebraska, is there is no state organization like an IUC in Nebraska. So it is done county by county. So maybe they went with an assumption that that's how it's supposed to be done here. So I definitely caution you to question everything and have them, the burden of proof on Tallgrass, to provide that documentation. Because they can make lots of promises. You know, like I said, there's a lot of money on the line here for these companies, because they're going to get a lot of tax breaks and subsidies to do this, if indeed it still is going to be paid for and subsidized by the federal government. So they're under pressure to try to get this done as fast as possible. And maybe that's why they kind of skirted our protocol. I don't know. But please be in contact with the IUC on this as our supervisors.
Well, kind of a short question. Do you know, I mean, you've got land in Nebraska. So are there rules out there similar to what we're looking at here, or have they already done a lot of these rules and regulations as far as ordinances for the pipelines and stuff? Good question, or?
It's because it's county by county, it varies tremendously.
Oh,
It's a mess. But that's where this Shelley Meyer comes in with Bold, Nebraska. She is supposed to be the liaison for between the state and the counties and Tallgrass with how this is supposed to proceed, because they're not using new pipe. This is also a questionable process in my mind. If indeed this is 800 pounds pressure or 2,000, they're using existing old pipelines. So the safety and security of this is questionable in my mind for the state of Nebraska. Also, are these new leases that they have that they're looking at trying to do here in Iowa? Is it going to be a piggyback? Is it, is it following an old existing pipeline route that's already here in the county? What's already here? And so, there's just a lot up in the air with this. And I just want our citizens to know and to be able to dig and find out what they can to help us through this process. And to let you know, I respect our county supervisors, and I want this to go through with absolute clarity and let the sunlight shine on this entire process. I don't want us taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
Well, in addition, not only this issue, but there's going to be more pipelines coming through the county, and we want our supervisors to protect our property and the citizens of the county from any future pipelines.
Yes, that's why we need the
That's
ordinance.
another reason you need the ordinance. Now, back to something that Jack said earlier. Now, Shelby County had an ordinance that was passed 25 years ago that set distances around incorporated cities that a pipeline could not violate because they didn't want to inhibit growth of the city. Summit in their, Summit rather ignored that and went within 100 feet of city limits in some places. So they violated their 25-year-old ordinance. Shelby County updated it, and of course, then they got sued. This is what was, the suit was heard at the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in Omaha here a couple months ago. When that's going to be settled.
Mhm.
Still waiting on that. Yes. So anyway, I don't know what this outfit promised the county revenue. That's what's been going on with the other issues, is that the counties were promised revenue, and most all the supervisors went, yes, 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 because you're always short of money, aren't we all? Interestingly enough, this last year, Page County was notified that their revenue would be 40% less than what was initially promised. Funny thing about that, promises. So I don't know what you folks were promised, but I'm sure you were promised something. And lastly, interesting, goes back to safety, the quantity of product in a pipeline. If you take an 8-inch pipeline, and I did this based on what we're dealing with in the other counties, and you have shutoffs, say, at 10 miles. They've talked about 20 miles, 7 miles, so 10 miles. The amount of product that you can get out of an 8-inch pipeline 10 miles long is roughly equal to 8 railroad tanker cars of product. If there's a rupture, that will all be expelled at one point. Now, how many miles are they talking about here in Mills County? Is it 5?
We got 3.5 in Mills, 1.1 in Potawatomi. I asked how many safety valves have to be done, because in my knowledge, in my thinking, it would have been how many safety valves per yards. We're talking about a couple hundred yards, and they tell me there's a safety valve per mile. And the amount
Per mile?
Per so many miles. They could
per so
not
many
tell me
miles.
how
Yes.
many. But in my knowledge, with how much CO2 is within a mile of a high pressurized pipeline that goes into the air, that could prove pretty devastating to a community.
Yes, to anybody that's within a couple miles of it. So if you got 5 miles, if you're dealing with an 8-inch pipeline, you got as much product in there as 4 tanker cars being unloaded all at one time. So that's the caution, the safety issue, and why we think all this is necessary, and we hope you do too, and move forward on this. There's no reason that you can't get an ordinance passed. I mean, even if Tallgrass goes and applies this week to the Iowa Utilities Commission, they're not a board anymore, they're a commission. Even if they apply this week and get permission, you can still write your setback ordinance, and it won't apply to them, but it would apply going forward.
Any future.
And get it done.
Okay.
I believe I and some others approached this board and the zoning commission 3 years ago suggesting that. So, it's not anything new. And interestingly enough, some of the counties, there's phase 1, phase 2 to the Summit line. Phase 2 is the reappropriation of Wolf and Navigator lines in with the Summit project. There's been a county or two that passed a setback ordinance after Summit's initial proposal, but before they redirected and reacquired the other lines. My understanding is that those setback proposals are in force now because they were done before the
Phase
IUB
two.
gave permission for them to acquire the abandoned proposed routes. So move ahead with all due speed if you can, gentlemen.
Well, just for instance, with the landfill out here, you know, they're selling methane and stuff. And I've questioned them quite a little bit about this. They actually ran their own pipeline on their own property over to, it's Kinder Morgan's
Mhm.
line that goes down past Emmett Stevens' place out here in there. Okay, they can pump to the east coast or they can pump to the west coast, depending on who wants it for manufacturing. I'm still trying to figure out how you use methane in manufacturing, but I'm not a scientist. I didn't do well in high school, so, you know, but they're using a pipeline that's been laying there in the ground for, well, I know it's been there for 70 years. So, is it viable? I don't know,
I don't know.
you know, so, but I mean, that's something a lot of people don't realize. When the flame's burning, they're cleaning filters. When the flame's off, they're shipping methane.
Oh, that's what it is. Because I've seen the flame numerous times when I drive by there.
We have to do board appointments here at 9 o'clock, but I'll say this is that, you know, I'll give you guys props because you guys took a very proactive approach when it came to the wind turbines, solar panels, things like that. And if we can try our best to be proactive and make sure that there isn't, in my understanding, I don't want to say Mills County is closed for business. I don't.
No.
But
Right.
what I want to make sure is that we're able to protect our citizens. And I think all three of us agree. So we're going to do what we can and try to get something on the books.
This has been the issue with Summit. Summit has claimed that if you put in these setback ordinances, while you're going to kill our project, there's no reason for that. If you ever looked at their line, they zigzag around everything. They can get around anything they want to. It's just a good talking point to scare supervisors into doing nothing. So,
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Take
Thanks
care.
very much.
Stay in touch, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
will your office, Amber, your office copy these for the gentleman?
Yeah, they'll
I'll
probably.
go upstairs. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get back to the 9 o'clock.
Should be headed in any minute.
They're coming in. Morning, Melissa.
Did you read up on your presidents, Melissa?
I did, just on this meeting.
I told her I wouldn't appoint her unless she told me who the sixth president was.
You said 17.
I tricked you.
Those left off.
Hmm?
Accounts payable.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay.
Later.
So do you want a motion to appoint the treasurer? I would make a motion to fill the treasurer's vacancy, effective immediately.
With,
Second. Let's get into discussion.
all right, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Melissa, just because a couple people might be wondering,
Yes,
why don't you say a little bit about who you are
okay.
and say what you've done in the office so far
Okay.
and what you're looking forward to as the next Mills County Treasurer.
Okay. My name is Melissa Lawfrey. I've worked in the treasurer's office for 6.5 years. I started in motor vehicle and then moved to taxes. I was a tax deputy prior to this. I look forward to continuing what our previous treasurer did. Jill was a very good mentor. I feel very positive on the future and what I can bring to Mills County.
I think you'll be great. Yeah, residents of Mills County are lucky to have you, Melissa.
You come highly recommended by Jill, so.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Is there any other discussion?
I have a question for John.
No, Richard.
Am I allowed to vote?
Oh, in relation?
Yes.
I would abstain.
We just abstained.
All right. I just want to make sure it's on record, so. Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call.
Sayers,
Aye.
Mayberry,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Crouch.
Richard, did you make the motion?
Yes.
You did.
I think someone else should make the motion, you should abstain.
All right, that's
So
fine.
we'll
We
strike
send-
the
We can start over. I'll retract my motion.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to appoint Melissa Lawfrey to the Mills County Treasurer Office to fill a vacancy effective immediately.
I will second that motion. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr.
Abstain.
Crouch? Next is to fill the vacancy for the recorder.
I'll make a motion to appoint Lori Murphy to the Mills County Recorder Office to fill a vacancy effective February 1st, 2025.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint the recorder to fill a vacancy effective February 1st, 2025. Any discussion?
Same thing, Lori, who you are, what you've done in the office, and what you're looking forward to as being recorder. I'm sorry to say, Lori, but you got big shoes to fill. You know I love Luann, so.
Yeah, we all do. I've worked in the office for 10 years, the first 5 years part-time, and then I went to full-time. And then I became the deputy. Luann has been a really good mentor and is very passionate about that office and takes everything very seriously in that office, and I plan to do the same. We've worked really hard to get everything in that office scanned and online so that it is available easily.
It's done.
And it's done, and I have looked at every single page of those books to make sure they were right and found things that needed, and so I've looked through every,
Come on, memorize.
that's a lot, no, but we go back to like 1850, so I just plan to try to live up to Luann's standard and just do my best to be, there for the public and help everybody out that needs it.
You'll do great.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. You'll be getting sworn in at 10 a.m., I have heard.
Mhm.
Okay, we will be upstairs to see you there.
Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. Do I get this?
Yeah.
Mr. Schultz.
Morning. I'm gonna let John start off first. We've been working on the addendum to the contract for the reimbursement for Alexis.
Yes, so in line with what we were discussing at last session, I have prepared the addendum for the original agreement. Pursuant to Section 8 of the original agreement entitled Amendment to Agreement for Reimbursement of Training Expenses and Cost of Specialized Personal Equipment. Section 2 of the original agreement is amended by mutual agreement of the parties as follows. A, the applicant shall reimburse the county in the amount of $4,602 for the total amount accrued by a date no later than April 14th, 2025.
What we discussed last week. Correct.
And this would require signature from the chair and the sheriff.
I will make the motion in reference to the addendum for reimbursement contract.
Seconded?
We have a motion and a second regarding the addendum to the reimbursement contract for Alexis Kilson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 There you go.
Motion carries.
Wait for the ayes.
Thank you, sir.
And then just a side note to that, John and I are working on the next one that's coming up. Can I say the name now?
Yes, she's been hired, right?
She starts officially on Thursday.
We said her name last week.
Yeah, we hired
Did
you
we?
last week.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you get this or?
I will send copies
Thank
to auditor's office
Okay.
or and sheriff.
Yep. So John and I have been working on Cammy Porters. There's been some changes on what the county has to pay to send somebody through the academy. Meals have gone up, but the actual cost to attend the academy, the tuition has gone down. So the number is going to be smaller than what we saw when we purchased Alexis's contract back 2 years ago, which is good news. But we'll get that hammered out, and before she signs it, I'll send it to you guys, and we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
The justification will be along with it. There's, obviously, list out the academy costs, meal costs, uniform expenses, and ammunition expenses for the academy. It works out to a little over 10 grand. So
Good.
Second thing,
Next thing is the purchase of a patrol vehicle.
yeah, I did not bring in copies for everybody. I had to have Jolene print it out for me really quick because I forgot it. Over the course of the year, because one of the chief deputy sheriff position was vacant, I'm pretty confident, I'm very confident that we have enough money in our budget to try and buy a vehicle this year, out of this year's budget. It would come out of, actually, we'd probably, I'm sorry, the car would come out of the 0100-01000 budget, 635. That's the last number on there.
Okay.
Also, it would come out of Red Oak Chrysler. It'd be a Dodge Durango similar to what we have. It's gonna be a little bit different color. It's that dark gray again. The total bid price for that vehicle is $45,182 even. We've stayed with Red Oak Chrysler because we don't have to do the wait. They'll order it. It'll be here between 3 and 6 weeks versus a state bid where we have waited up to 6 months to get a car.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so we want to stay as local as possible and know that we're going to get this vehicle quicker than what the state bid can bring us. Like I said, I did not bring copies for everybody, but that's what it looks like. It's going to be the same type of vehicle, the same vehicle we would have done the last couple times. And again, we have the money in the budget this year. I know the budget that I sent to Amber is requesting 3 vehicles next year. If we do this one this year, I'd back that down to 2.
Okay.
Save us the trouble having to try and bump that up next year.
Even better.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think, gentlemen?
I'd make the motion to approve the purchase of the new patrol vehicle
Seconded.
in this 24-25 budget year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to purchase a new patrol vehicle from Red Oak Chrysler for the cost of $45,182 out of this fiscal year. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need anything autographed
Nope.
or?
No, we'll just get it ordered. Now that we have your approval.
Can we keep this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Last thing, last week we approved the combined purchase of the UTV, the grant money, and then the extra money coming out of the 11,000-01000-635 vehicle line item. We were trying to get a V or a trailer to pull up to Sioux Falls, have it towed down. We're gonna take a couple guys to do it, and we have to borrow a trailer from somebody privately. We opted rather, with your permission, just to have them ship it down. It's gonna cost us $700 to ship it. We just spent that in wages, not to mention the fuel to get back and forth. So with your permission, I'd just like to have them drop ship it down here versus having to send 2 guys up there to pick it up. And that also would come out of that same budget, that 11,000-1,635 budget line item. Just seemed financially or fiscally responsible to do it that way versus send 2 guys up.
Right. For $700, it's worth it.
Yep.
All right, guys, what do you think? Supervisors want to drive up and get it for him?
No.
We talked about borrowing a couple of personal trailers, but then we didn't know how that would work if something happened. We were
Exactly.
It's not good. There's horror stories out there.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Taking place, but
Yeah.
I would make a motion to approve going up and retrieving the new UTV for the price of $700.
We ship it down there.
Shipping it, oh, they're gonna ship it.
Yep, they'll
We'll
deliver it.
ship it right here.
Seconded.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the shipping for the new UTV for the fee of $700. Is there any discussion? Who would that be to?
For 90, they'll drop it right in our.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
That's all I got.
Get it? Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
You got time this afternoon.
Mr. Johansson.
It's gonna be really short and sweet. Just wanted permission to use the courthouse lawn for Cultivate Community again this year. We're looking at August 6th, from 5 to 8 p.m. Be the same type of deal where we try to set up during the day on the courthouse lawn, but not interrupt any courthouse activities. So if I could
Good
get your
deal.
blessing.
A lot of turnout.
I think we guessed, depending, last year we moved it back to the Ragbri, but typically I want to say close to 1,000.
It was a great event last year. Well, I'll make a motion for the Cultivate Community event to use courthouse grounds on August 6th.
second,
Got a motion and a second to approve the courthouse grounds used for Cultivate Community event. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
anything we can help you with, let us know.
Okay, we'll do. We did get a sponsor this year to help cover the costs. Whereas my budget's about like everybody else's. So,
Good, yeah.
Western Iowa Networks was our main sponsor.
Oh, wow.
Good,
for them.
good.
So, anyway, bigger and better, right?
Yes,
So you guys can do that too. See you guys later.
thank you. The next item on the agenda would be engaging outside counsel for the purpose of drafting the carbon pipeline ordinance. I did speak with our county attorney this morning and they recommended we table this at this time due to ongoing litigation. Jack, would you like to add anything to that?
That's correct. And I believe it was briefly discussed at the table there. There is currently ongoing litigation between counties that drafted ordinances in the 8th Circuit. Oral arguments were heard on that in November. Court has yet to render a decision on that. Once that decision is rendered, we'll have a clearer picture of a acceptable box of which we can work in. Until then, it's the advice of counsel that this be stayed until then, so we understand what exactly it is we can and cannot do and what we're working with. And that's it.
I think we're all looking at moving forward with this, so is that something you could keep us up to speed on if and when they make their
When
decisions?
the
And
decision is rendered, we'll review it.
we would like to move forward with it, so.
I would prefer not to table it, in just my personal opinion. And the reason being is because we have right around $7 or $8 in the building and zoning budget that is specifically outlined for ordinances, crafting ordinances. I'd like to see us reach out to a couple different law firms, see what they think. They might have a better opinion on what we can actually write, what we can't write. There was a lot of flaws with Ramirez County, with Shelby County, a lot of things that's the reason why they went to court. We don't have to worry about that because we know why. I would like to see us move forward with it. Doesn't mean that we're going to have our ordinances drafted soon. It just means that we're going to have somebody that we can use as outside counsel to talk us through this process over the next however many weeks. We have some money there just for a little bit of opening discussion, see what we can write, see what we can't write.
I agree with moving forward on it, Jack, but right now I'd like to heed the advice of our county attorney.
Okay.
It's just my opinion. Mr. Coates, what do you think?
My opinion is that the county attorney's office can handle this, which they're supposed to do, help us with our ordinances and writing things. Why take the taxpayers' money and spend it elsewhere? If they come to us and say, well, this has become a little more difficult than we planned on, maybe we should ask someone else, then I would maybe change my mind, but
Sure.
I think we should table it and work with the local county attorney and stuff and see what can be done.
I would entertain a motion just to clarify everything, guys.
I would make a motion to keep moving forward on this with the county attorney. It's gonna take some time, I realize that. You know, nothing's done over. Rome wasn't built in a day, so.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with our county attorney's office. Is there a second?
Do you think the office can handle it? Because we used an outside legal for solar and wind turbines, and seems to be a much bigger beast to me than that.
I think we can cross that bridge when we come to it. The first step is waiting to see what the Court of Appeals has to say about it when a decision is rendered.
Yeah, I don't see any county that would be doing much on a pipeline ordinance because of all the litigations. I mean, I don't know how many cases there is in process right now. And, when we go to Isaac and stuff, they still talk about using Shelby County's ordinance because it's one of the, I'm not saying it's the best, but it's one that got started off.
Picture of what's acceptable and operable once the Circuit Court of Appeals renders a decision.
Right.
I would say I don't know if I'm in favor of the motion, because I don't want it in the minutes to say, because from my understanding right now, what the motion is that we're going to be using the county attorney. I would just say table it until the Court of Appeals delivers their verdict.
Then I will second Mr. Couch's motion to move forward with the county attorney until they direct us otherwise. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is the consideration and informal action of the clarification on minutes from the January 13th, 2025 minutes. Supervisor Crouch added board health meeting echoing Sayre's sentiments. The Veterans Affairs meeting where they discussed their budget and reported an additional $100,000 a month in veteran spending in Mills County. This is just a clarification thing.
Yeah, it would.
Would you like to speak up on this?
Yeah, thank you guys very much. It just, I just think it was a complete error, no big deal, but the minutes reflected that the veterans are spending $100,000 a month, and that's not true. The VA awards veterans and their dependents over $1 million a month, but that's a completely different picture than veterans spending.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's all.
So just to clarify.
Just to clarify that the office is not spending that. Yeah, there you go.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
I want to think the office is spending $100,000 a month. Yeah,
It would be nice.
you bet, but we're not.
Do we need a motion on this? Or is this just something that we can voice?
I was just gonna clarify it in these minutes.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mention Veterans Affairs in the minutes on the 13th, that the Veterans Affairs Office is spending more. It does say veterans, but we can just add a clarification to these minutes.
We're not changing the minutes. We're just,
You're not altering
we're
those?
not altering them at all. No.
Okay, you're just offering clarification?
Yes.
I believe that's okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
You bet. Thank you guys very
Thank you
much. Appreciate it.
And you're still not getting $100,000.
Yeah, still not gonna get it. That's all right.
Right, next, right. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Next item on the agenda is General Relief Partnership.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Good. Jack, I don't think we've met. I'm Rachel.
Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot.
Oh, well, that's good and bad.
Right there.
Oh, that's good.
I'm sorry. Nice to meet you guys. This is Tara. She's the one that pays my bills.
Yeah.
Rachel Reese again.
Tara Slevin.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Tara?
Slevin. Yep, Tara.
Slevin.
God, I talk fast. It kind of blends together.
That's good.
So, we are here to kind of talk about our proposal for how do we partner together and create a collaborative approach to really help those that are most vulnerable in our county. We know with the changes that happened at public health, one of those, the fallout was the removal of our community health worker that we partnered with public health. We would like to talk about how can we reinstate that position, whatever that looks like. This is a blank slate, right? But our proposal is really how do we support this work? And so what we're offering within here is that this community health worker would become embedded within our Caring for Our Communities framework. So Caring for Our Communities is a program that was created about 10 years ago with Jenny Edmondson Foundation, and was really looking at how do we support those that are most vulnerable and making sure that it's not just about helping that initial one-off thing, but how do we get them to stability? So we know that there are people that come through for general relief that might need one-time assistance, and then they'll be back next year. So how do we get them to a space where they're not coming back every year and that they're really supported and guided through a process where they can stabilize within our county? We know that there's a heavy need within our county. We know that. It's just a matter of how do we continue to build that and make sure those people are cared for. So with that, how this would look and kind of what we were thinking is, and this is just an initial piece, is really that this community health worker would have access and oversee making sure that people get access to general relief funds. But then paired with that, the foundation is ready to make a 2-to-1 match to the general relief fund for Mills County to see that that person continues forward. They would have access to our vouchers for medication, for transportation, for food access, for everything under the sun, rental utility assistance, all of that. And so we want to make sure that that person gets embedded into the framework that we've already started and already created, and that we've seen a lot of success. And part of that framework is partnerships like with the sheriff's department, with the police department and the fire department. And then also you'll see I put in here in the back of your packet a list of our current partners that we have on deck. And then also ones that we're in progress of really solidifying. So I think what's important to note is really when it comes down to is what is the services provided and what is the cost. So you'll see that there is a budget. This budget is what it would be to have a match, what the match would look like for the 2-to-1 to the general assistance fund. It does not include any cost of admin. We can do a budget that adds in those pieces, so it doesn't take into consideration my time of overseeing the community health worker or my counterpart who does all of the data integrity and then also oversees the finances. It does not take into account that piece either. But what this looks like is for those first initial 6 months to get us through to the end of the fiscal year, and then also for next year if we want to just try it out and see what happens, and then what it would look like going forward. But it would still be and we'd have to kind of talk about two different things. One, where the 2-to-1 match would go, and then 2, where that salary would go to. Would it be something that salary would then, that person would reside under the foundation, or we've done it where the person actually resides within the county, and then we just have oversight over how they do, and we just case conference with them and make sure that they're kind of going down the right path and following what the Caring for Our Communities model is. So with that, that's what the budget is. Some other pieces are within that, what the services they would provide. They can do anything from help get connected to Medicaid, help get connected to SNAP dollars, help them with finding rental utility assistance, getting them connected to SIRHA, whatever that looks like to make sure that they get stabilized, whether that's helping them get connected to employment or education, different things like that. That community health worker is exactly that. It's about how do they help this person walk through some of the hardest parts of their life. And so that's really why this position is so important, and why pairing it with general relief really makes sense to allow that whole continuity of care. What we would also do is really make sure that you guys have access to metrics, and we can look at what is the kind of the right timetable for you guys to look at those outputs and those metrics, and looking at not only expenditures, but also case resolution rates. We're really big on making sure that when you close a case that it actually is resolved, and that if it is unresolved, why? Was it that you couldn't get a hold of them? Was it lack of follow through? What was it? Because that way then if they come back around, we kind of know what happened, and we can start the conversation from there as well. We'll also look at services provided, referrals made, and just really overall program impact. And so we'll provide all of that to you guys as well, whether that's quarterly or monthly, whatever that kind of timetable is, what you would like. Some other pieces that are in your packet, just for your reference, we did include 2 high-level case examples. I'm not going to talk about those individuals here just because there is information about them in there, and we are a small county, and I don't want to, everyone will know who they are. But I do think it's important that you guys read through that so you can kind of understand the scope of the work that we're doing and that's happening. Also, on your other side of your packet, I provided basically the last 3 impact reports that we've done with Caring for Our Communities. Caring for Our Communities was started in Pot County about 2 years ago. When I came on board to the foundation, we really dove into how do we make sure that we're supporting Mills County as well. Our clinic has always provided some of the Caring for Our Communities vouchers and excess support and flexible funding like that. But we really want to start to dive in deeper to how do we actually start to make impact and make sure that people are stable and that we're not seeing people continue to struggle and come back around each time. So any questions, any concerns? Again, this is collaborative. How do we go from here? This was just our initial thoughts. We wanted to get down on paper in front of you guys.
I can speak from experience now. General relief takes probably 2 to 3 hours of my day each day, which is taking me away from other very valuable things I need to do, like the budget. So I did reach out to Rachel because I know that they've had partnered with public health on some other issues, and not issues, but other projects, and felt like that might be a good option for us to look into, where we could still provide general relief, but then also it's more of a complete picture and a help for, and I'm just not qualified to do the work of general relief.
So you just don't have time.
And I don't have time, and I don't have the training or the qualifications to continue to do it in a way that's meaningful and impactful.
Because sometimes when you start with a general relief applicant, it could be like they're presenting for one thing, but then you find out through the conversation and through their budget and through looking at everything that really what they need is this help over here. And what we're finding at a hospital level even is that 80% of what people come to the hospitals for has nothing to do with their health. It has everything to do with where they live, the foods they eat, who they care for, who they surround themselves with, how they live. So those 80%, that's really what the community health worker starts to look at, and how do we make sure that they're stabilized within that.
And to build on that, I think one of the beauties with the Caring for Our Community program is we recognize, even with the collaboration that we have, it's more than one organization that's going to help people get from instability to stability. And so you can see the list of the partners as they continue to grow. Mills County already has some great organizations that are working to support these. So that role of that community coach is really to be embedded within the community, work with those folks who are local, and then help some of those dollars flow through so that we can make sure, as Rachel talked about, it being consistent, supportive. And then because we work on all the same data model, I know what happens if they come into the hospital. Heartland that you guys talked about earlier, part of this, they can see what's happening in all these agencies, which knocks down some of the duplication, but also helps build the trust with that individual that it's not just one more application to follow through on. Part of the reason behind the foundation offering a 2-to-1 match is we recognize the complexity of this. We also want to be a good partner at the table. Jenny Ed's proud to be the hospital that we hope is the hospital of choice in the community, but we also recognize that comes with a role and a responsibility to work with some of those most vulnerable that can't always get to the hospital, and whether it's transportation, whether it's helping support the clinic to do more things locally. Those flexible funding dollars can be utilized on what the county also feels is best. And so I think from a hospital standpoint, we were very fortunate to get Rachel on board 2 years ago. I worked with her when she was the chamber director. And so it's important that this person is embedded in Mills County, and whether that's at police, fire, the sheriff's department. We worked with Sheriff Schultz to build some of the program that we come together as already a foundation. So we're just honored to have an opportunity to sit here at the table and hear from you guys where we can be of most help and support.
Is there a piece of this where you can work together to kind of revise our general relief policy?
Yeah.
I believe there's some holes in it, and it's not quite as clear as it probably should be.
Yes.
General relief policy needs to be a little bit stricter.
Sure.
It needs to be stricter.
So, I mean, there's just, if that's a part of that, I would
absolutely
love to do that as well, just because it just doesn't outline the things I feel like it should outline.
Yeah,
These levels to,
And I think along those lines, that's a great point, Amber, is that even with the foundation dollars, that could cover certain things, but as you refine and restrict those general assistance dollars, we can figure which bucket works best. And then again, the transparency on that, so you know where every dollar has gone. And then I think also what Rich has really done a nice job showing with our past partners is, here's where your dollars went, but with the partnership and the collaboration, here's what we were able to do to expend on that. But you certainly absolutely have the say and responsibility on where those dollars and how they get spent. So keep refine that.
So on your initial proposal here, we would obviously pay for the salary,
Mhm.
we'd pay for the benefits, and then we'd pay for the general relief portion. And then you have travel vouchers, medication, therapy, provider copays, day-to-day expenses, food access vouchers, and material supplies marketing.
Yeah.
And we would do just general relief and benefits and the wages like we have done in years past.
Yep.
Yeah, and we can talk about what that looks like in terms of where that position is embedded. I think we're flexible. We've done it multiple different ways,
Okay.
multiple different arenas. It's just whatever you guys are most comfortable with.
Do you have, let's say, instead of them being a Mills County Public Health employee, they were an employee at the Ginny Ed Foundation, would we still then have to pay their benefits in that regard?
I don't know about,
Or would Ginny Ed have benefits?
Let me go back and look at that. That may
Yeah.
be something that we can look at to see.
Okay.
it might be more of like a grant situation where you granted dollars to us and then,
Yeah,
Pay you when you guys handle it.
yeah, and then we would handle everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's what we've done in the
Yeah.
past, yeah.
Yeah,
And we don't need to take action on this today. I just wanted them to get in front of you guys to kind of
Appreciate
get
you
this
coming
option on the table.
66 grand would be to get us through July 1.
yeah,
Okay.
because what you have currently is that number there left in general relief. And then this salary is based on what you paid the past community health worker, which is on par with what we pay our community health workers at a hospital level. So I just kept it at that. Fringe benefits, I have no idea if those
Sure.
are accurate. I guess based on what ours are. So
Yep.
if we need to change that, we can.
Right.
But yeah,
I will say this much, that after sitting through mental health yesterday, we as a group have no idea what is going on, what is going to take place. I think your department could be overloaded with people that are scared because they don't know where they're gonna go, what's gonna happen to them.
yeah,
And we, or they, as the state and stuff, they don't have the personnel to take care of the rural area. Most of their people are stuck in the city type
Right.
settings. So I just, we was all in agreement yesterday, all 9 of us that was there, that this is going to be a real crucial year coming up because nobody knows where they're gonna end up,
And your concerns are spot on.
for
And I think-
Yeah.
health especially.
Right.
oh yeah. I think that with what's happening at the region level, we partner with the region heavily on everything we do.
Yep.
So it is scary what's rolling down, but I think what's helpful is that the model that we've created has partnered with them and has stood the test of time. And whatever happens, however that looks, community-based organizations are going to need to step up because the state is changing their model. And so I think that we're all prepared to do that. But the partnerships are going to look different. It's going to look like this. Like, how do we start to take care of our own?
Yep.
And this community health worker will be one person. Will it cover every single case that we have that comes through here? No. When our community health worker left, we were left with 15 cases that were open, that were intense cases that we had to kind of scramble to kind of figure out how do we support and close. And these are still ongoing cases that if we are able to continue this, you're gonna be directly on that person's role. So our caseworkers, our community health workers at the hospital, and then also in Connections Area Agency on Aging, and then the one that's embedded in the Council Bluffs Police Department, they all carry a caseload of anywhere from 30 to 60 people at any given time each month. So you're looking at heavy caseloads that they're used to helping these people very quickly and helping them get connected to resources and stabilized as well. And they also have the depth and breadth of being able to count on each other. Later today, we have a meeting where they come together and they start to case conference some of the toughest cases that are going on within our region. And that's where you have the depth and breadth of that knowledge that can say, have you tried this? Have you reached out to this? How do we do this? And I think that's the beauty of, as things start to sunset like the region and they look a little different, And even as public health looks different, I mean, we don't know what that's going to look like either. So I think there's a lot of unknowns, and providing stability and leadership right now is what's necessary. And I think that that's where we can help and step in and really support you
I
guys.
do believe we need to sit down with the general leaf budget and look at things. I'm trying to figure out the last time we actually changed things like burial cost, rent,
Sure.
water, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
We can't work off of a budget that's 5, 6, 7 years old.
Right.
Things have went up,
Yeah.
and we haven't kept up with it. So
And we would be happy to share what we're seeing. That way then you can make informed decisions. Like, we're more than happy to help in whatever way we can. We're just here to be a resource because you guys have a job to do. This is what we do every day. Like, you don't have to worry about this. Like, just reach out and ask, and
Making
we're
the
here.
transparency and data,
Yeah.
not only what's spent, but also what the outcomes are.
Yeah.
And maybe it's confidentiality. That might look different how the metrics come forward. But I think one of the things too with being a small and lean, the metrics that we're putting forward is not what you're looking for. We can adapt and adjust. And I think sitting down and seeing what you have been tracking, where those dollars have been going, starting there first to get an understanding of that, and then working alongside this team and Amber to say, what is it that's helpful to you? And how does that move forward? Because at the end of the day, I think one of the things that our group has continued to work towards is, while the transportation vouchers, the general assistance, those pieces are important, if we're not helping that person move forward to stability, are those dollars really impactful? And I think that's really where that collective accountability comes. And we do work that pretty tight.
Yeah, thank you guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Very good.
Before we move on, it is a payables week,
It is.
and I did not get it on the agenda. I don't know if that's something we can do a motion to add it to the agenda because it's scheduled payable week, payable day.
I think you'd have to motion to add, motion to approve second.
A motion to add the payables to the agenda.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to add accounts payable to the agenda.
second. We've done this.
We have a motion and a second to add the accounts payable to the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, do you want to pay the bills?
Make a motion to approve accounts payable.
Everything except the sheriff?
Hey,
He brought this. We can let it slide this time.
Yeah.
Second, Mr. Crouch?
Yep.
We have a motion and a second to pay the accounts payable. Is there any discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Apologies.
No, it's all good, Amber. None of us are perfect.
I gotta run out of here, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:45.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn at 9:45 by Mr. Sayers.
Okay, a second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. I'll be right back.
Swearing in will be at 10. If anybody wants to go upstairs to attend.
Then stream and then close it.
Oh.